Hey everyone, we're going to do the book of Isaiah. This took me a little while today because there's a little bit of stuff in it. They've already been outlined. I just have to do the video. So let's just jump right into the 12 signs. First sign I talk about is Aquarius, which is represented by the man with the water pitcher. So technically, Aries begins the year. The new year actually is tomorrow. So happy new year, everyone. That's when all the new years were. It was the beginning of spring. It was the beginning of things coming back to life. So there's key words in Aquarius. Whenever you hear son of man or man, because this is the sign of the man, baptism, because this is how you baptize someone, water pitcher, because this is a water pitcher, fountain, because a lot of fountains are built like this, stream, river, pond, lake, ocean, sea. Aquarius is an air sign, but because there's water in it, they used it and encoded it into the Bible as water. Now, Pisces is the sign of the two fish in the water. Pisces is actually a mutable water sign. So stream, river, pond, lake, sea, ocean, creek, things of that nature. And the way you can tell between whether it's going to be water Aquarius or water Pisces is depending on the patterns that it makes in the sky. And I'm going to show you that. Now, Aries is the ram. And in Aries, you have March 21st. This is tomorrow. So what happens tomorrow is the sun passes over the equator and starts to make its way back up to its height in the summer solstice in Cancer. In Christianity, the Passover is changed and it's called the resurrection of God's Son. And the Jewish Passover is when the angel of death passes over all the houses in Egypt. And anyone that doesn't have the lamb or the ram's blood, Aries the ram, the lamb's blood smeared on their doorposts, the firstborn sons get killed. So whenever you hear ram, lamb, shepherd, or ram's horn, you're talking about Aries. Taurus is the bull. And when you look at the sky and you see Taurus during the season where it's supposed to be, you know that you need to put the plow on the bull so that you could plant the seed so you can harvest in Virgo and Libra. So whenever you hear bull, ox, calf, or cow, cow being the female bull, you're talking about Taurus. Gemini is the twins. It's the story of Castor and Pollux Troy, whose sister was Helen of Troy. It's the story of Achilles. So whenever you hear twins or brothers, you're talking about Gemini. Cancer is the crab, and it's the sideways moving creature. Just as the sun rises a degree on its axis, starting December 25th, it stops on June 21st, the summer solstice, and then for 3 days it rises to the same degree, hence moving sideways. See, it doesn't rise an additional degree or lower a degree. For 3 days, it stays at the same, hence moving sideways. Then on June 25th, it lowers a degree. The crab in the ancient Egyptian times was known as the scarab. So whenever you hear crab or beetle, you're talking about Cancer. Leo is the king. He's the lion. He's the king of the jungle. The ruling planet of Leo is actually the sun. So whenever you're talking about lion, lioness, or cub, you're talking about Leo. Then Virgo is the woman holding the wheat stalk. Remember before when we said that you plant in Taurus? Well, the virgins would cultivate the wheat in Virgo in order to make the bread for the year. So whenever you hear virgin or woman, wheat, grain, seed, barley, corn, granny things that you harvest during Virgo. Now, Libra is the justice. It's the scales, it's the balance, it's the just one. The reason it's the justice is because it judges God's sun as it passes over the fall equinox and begins its descent into winter, into cold, into death. Libra is also wine season, which is when you plant for the grapes in Taurus, you could press the wine here. Libra is also olive season. You press the olives to make the oil here. So law, judge, justice, the just one, divorce, marriage, court, wine, vineyard, wine press, olive oil or olive oil, you're talking about Libra. Then you have Scorpio, who's the scorpion, and he is known as the betrayer. When a scorpion bites you, it leaves an imprint in your skin that looks like a pair of lips. It's why the mafia has the kiss of death, and it's why Jesus was betrayed by Judas with a kiss. So the sun is judged in Libra, and it's betrayed in Scorpio. Finally, in Sagittarius, this is where the bow and the arrow shoot the sun and inflict further punishment on the sun. This is where the sun dies. Why? Because on December 21st, the sun is at its lowest point. It cannot rise any lower. It's dead. It's the dead of winter. It remains at that lowest level for 3 days. It walks sideways like the crab does, which is why Jesus was dead for 3 days. When on December 25th, the birth of God's Son, the birth of every deity, comes back to life. It rises another degree and starts to make its way back up to the top. And this is a cycle that it does every year. So whenever you hear horse, bow and arrow, spear, or horseman, you're talking about Sagittarius. Finally, we have Capricorn, who's the goat, because the goat likes to climb the mountain. And if you look at the zodiac wheel on the right, you'll notice that Capricorn is all the way at the bottom. Well, if you put a little sun at the bottom and you start moving it to the left a degree a day, going through the signs until it hits its height in Cancer in the summer solstice, it starts to climb up the great mountain in Capricorn, just like the goat does. Those are your 12 signs. Let's jump right into it. The book of Isaiah. The ox knows its owner, the ass its master's stall. So the ox is Taurus, and the donkey is a Salus Borealis, which is in Cancer. Now, there's no real pattern there, but I wanted to just start off with that to show you that it's these kind of ones that I'm not going to include. I've made this very clear, is that I'm only going to include the very impressive ones. I'm not going to include the ones that are random like this. The daughter of Zion is left like a shelter in a vineyard. I've had my fill of offerings of rams, of fatted beasts, the blood of bulls, the sheep, and he-goats. Well, the vineyard is Libra, the ram is Aries. These are opposing signs. The bull is Taurus. Aries and Taurus are connecting signs. The goats are Capricorn. Also, Libra, Aries, and Capricorn are 3/4 of the cardinal signs. So there's lots of patterns here in these two sentences. Their land is full of horses, and there is no end to their chariots. They always pair the horses with the chariots, and that makes sense. But it's even more beautiful in the heavens because the horse is Sagittarius, and the chariot is Auriga, who's the charioteer in Gemini. And whenever they're talking about the horse and the chariots, they're always talking about these opposing signs. It's a line that they make through the zodiac. It's a perfect line. Let me sing for my beloved, a love song about his vineyard. My beloved had a vineyard on the fertile brow of a hill. He cultivated it, clearing it of stones, and planted it with choice vines. He built a watchtower in its midst and hewed for it a winepress as well. Then he expected it to yield grapes, but it produced wild grapes. Now, O inhabitants of Jerusalem and you men of Judea, please judge between me and my vineyard. So the vineyard, the vines, the winepress, the grapes, and the judging are all in reference to what happens in Libra, if you remember back. Libra is the judge, Libra is the wine, and Libra is the olive oil. So this whole passage is literally just an ode to Libra. Their arrows are sharp, their bows are strong. The tread of war horses resemble a flint. They have the roar of a lion. The bows and the arrows are Sagittarius, and the lion is Leo. In that day, the Lord will signal for the flies from the far rivers of Egypt and for the bees in the land of Assyria. And they will come and settle with one accord in the riverbeds of the prairie and in the rocky ravines and by all the ditches and water holes. In that day, a man will keep alive a young cow and a pair of sheep. And because of their plentiful milk, men will eat the cream. All who remain in the land will feed on cream and honey. In that day, every plot of ground with a thousand vines, with 1,000 pieces of currency, shall be briars and thorns. Men will go there with bows and arrows, for the whole land shall be revert to wilderness. And on the hillsides, cultivated by the hoe, you will no longer go for fear of the briars and thorns, but they shall serve as cattle range, a terrain for sheep to tread down. All right, so let's break this down. The rivers are Pisces, the water. The bees come from the beehive cluster in Cancer. The water hole is Aquarius. Aquarius and Pisces are connecting signs. So you see how we mentioned two different types of waters? Well, think about it. The rivers are Pisces. The sign of Pisces is literally two fish. Well, they'd be in the river, wouldn't they? And the water hole, well, that would be the man with the water pitcher in Aquarius. It's a different type of water. Now, the man is Aquarius, and the cow is the female bull or Taurus. The milk comes from the Milky Way galaxy, whose center is in Sagittarius. The vines are from Libra. The men and the bows and arrows are Sagittarius as well. The cattle is Taurus, and the sheep are Aries. These are connecting signs. Now, Aries, Cancer, and Libra are 3/4 of the cardinal signs of the zodiac. So this is a different type of pairing that we're used to seeing. You have the cardinal, the mutable, and in order, the cardinal, the fixed, and the mutable signs. We're going to make patterns with that moving forward. Then the wolf shall dwell among the lambs, and the leopard lie down with young goats. Calves and young lions will feed together, and a youngster will lead them to pasture. When a cow and bear browse, Their young will rest together. The lion will eat straw like the ox. A suckling infant will play near the adder's den, and the toddler reach his hand over the viper's nest. For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the Lord as the oceans are overspread with waters. So, the wolf is Lupus, which is on Libra. The leopard is Camelopardalis, which is in Gemini. The goats are Capricorn. The calves are Taurus. The lion is Leo. The bear is Ursa Major, which is in Cancer. The viper is Ophiuchus, and the waters are Aquarius. So you have Libra, Gemini, Capricorn, Taurus, Leo, Cancer, Ophiuchus, and Aquarius. This is 8 of the 13 Vedic or sidereal signs, if you add Ophiuchus. This is also 3/4 of the cardinal signs again, and 3/4 of the fixed signs. So many patterns to make, guys. And if you map this out on a zodiac, just connect it and see what you'll find. It's so beautiful. I can't even put it in any other way. Then, like a deer is chased, or a flock of sheep that no one rounds up. The deer is Mriga, which is in Orion, and Orion is between Taurus and Gemini. The sheep is Aries, and you have Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. These are 3 connecting signs in a row in one sentence. Then, like a deer is chased, or a flock of sheep that no one rounds up. It's 3 connecting signs. After being like a harvest of ripe grain, or when an olive tree is beaten, the grain is Virgo, the virgin with the wheat stalk, the olive is Libra. These are connecting signs. Let him watch for chariots with teams of horses. There's the chariots and the horses again, guys. Riders on asses and riders on camels. The chariot is Auriga, which is in Gemini. The horse is Sagittarius. Opposing signs. The donkey is the Salus Borealis, which is in Cancer, and Camelopardalis is in Gemini. Gemini and Cancer are connecting signs. So 1, 2 patterns in one sentence. Instead, there is a mirth and merrymaking, the killing of cattle and the slaughter of sheep, eating meat and drinking wine. The cattle is Taurus and the sheep is Aries. These are connecting signs. The wine is Libra. Libra and Aries are opposing signs. Again, one sentence, 2 connecting signs, or 2 connections, I should say. Will the plowman be forever plowing to sow seed? Does he not demarcate wheat from barley? Domestic grain is ground. It cannot be ground by driving horse and threshing cart over it. The plowing takes place in Taurus. The wheat and the barley is Virgo, the lady with the wheat stalk. The horse is Sagittarius. Virgo and Sagittarius are 1/2 of all the mutable signs. Through a land of hardship and vicissitudes of lions and the roaring king of beasts, of vipers and a fiery flying serpent, they carry their wealth on the backs of the young asses, then riches on the humps of the camel. Okay. Now, if you've heard me talk about this before, the fiery flying serpent, the only fiery flying serpent would be Ophiuchus. Now, I told you that sometimes, rarely, they integrate the 13th sign into this, but mostly it's done in tropical astrology. The other serpent that they would have would be Hydra, who's roughly in the same location. But because this is a flying serpent, the picture of Ophiuchus is a man holding a basket up with the snake head facing Sagittarius. This is Hydra is a water serpent, so that wouldn't be the same serpent. You have to figure that out. Now the lion is Leo, and the viper serpent is Ophiuchus. The camel is Camelopardalis, which is in Gemini. And if you look at the zodiac wheel when Ophiuchus is in it, it's basically opposed to Gemini. The Egyptians are human, not divine. Their horses are flesh, not spirit. As a lion or a young lion growls over the prey when the shepherds muster full force against him. The horse is Sagittarius, the lion is Leo, and the shepherd is Aries. Then shall the lame leap like deer. The land of mirages shall become one of the lakes, the thirsty place, springs of water. No lions shall be encountered there. So the deer is a constellation called Mriga, which is in Orion, which is between Taurus and Gemini. The lake and the springs of the water are Aquarius. The lion is Leo. Aquarius Taurus, and Leo are 3/4 of the fixed signs. Aquarius and Leo are opposing signs. So look at all those patterns you're seeing, guys. Gluttonous dogs and insatiable, such indeed are insensible shepherds. Come, they say, let us get wine and have our fill of liquor. The dog is Canis Major, which is in Cancer. The shepherd is Aries. The wine is Libra. Aries, Cancer, and Libra are 3/4 of the cardinal signs. Finally, the wolf and the lamb will graze alike, and the lion will eat straw like the ox. As for the serpent, dust shall be its food. But whoever slaughters an ox is as one who kills a man, and whomever sacrifices a lamb as one who breaks a dog's neck. Whoever presents a grain of offering is as one who offers swine's blood. Now, the wolf is the constellation Lupus and is in Libra. The lamb is Aries. These are opposing signs. The lion is Leo, and the ox is Taurus. Aries and Taurus are connecting signs. And the serpent is Ophiuchus, which is the opposing sign of basically Taurus and Gemini. It kind of throws, it's not an even split, basically. The dog is Canis Major in Cancer, and the grain is Virgo. The swine is the pig, which is the constellation Porcus. Now, the constellation Porcus, I have to narrow down which constellation it is, which zodiac sign it is in. But the constellation Porcus was apparently simultaneously discovered by the Greeks and the Chinese, 5th century BC. Whereas I'm using the list from Ptolemy in 150 AD to basically narrow down what they could have known at the time. So a lot of people ask me who are new, what does it mean? Like, yes, I see the patterns. Yes, I understand this. Yes, I get that it's not supposed to be taken literally. Yes, I get it, but what's the pattern? Why? Why do they do this? Well, in the ancient times, they didn't have calendars. They had sundials, that whole joke, winter is coming from Game of Thrones was true. That's what it was. Winter was coming, and they had to make sure they had enough food or they were going to starve. They had to know the agricultural year. They had to know when to plant, when to harvest, and they reference the same foods because they're telling you what time period it is in. Now, it would be one thing if this pattern or this cipher that I've come up with only worked in the Bible and only shown these connecting signs and opposing signs, which tells you that there's something magical there to begin with. The fact that not only are they relating to the zodiac, but the fact that they're making patterns in the zodiac and 3, 4, 5, 6 signs in a row and opposing signs and neighboring signs. But I've tracked this through all my works. And if you guys go through my Astrotheology playlist, you'll be able to pick any of the previous works that I've done. And you'll see the same patterns. I've gone through almost every ancient holy text. So thank you guys for listening in. I hope you enjoy this. Let me know what you think.